beyond blended families, there's a stigma on dating people with children.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
Let's talk about a little bit of, you spoke kind of the first chapter on blended families.
Yes.
Right?
Mhm.
Yes.
And I think there's such like a stigma on blended families, right?
I mean, beyond blended families, there's a stigma on dating people with children.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I've
they
caught.
shun away from.
Yeah, I've caught myself several times just being like, I don't think I can date a woman with a child.
Yeah.
And it's, so I mean, what? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that with us, it kind of brought us closer because of the situation with my wife. When we first met, her son was 3. She was a single parent. My son was 3. I was a single parent. And they both were males. So we kind of had a lot to relate about.
Okay.
And as far as the raising techniques of them, the ingredients was missing from my son Jaquan, that father figure, that positive father figure, I should say.
Okay.
His father was here and there, kind of, and wasn't very supportive of helping my wife when we met. So I stepped in, and I knew when we first hit off with the relationship that if I was going to accept her, then I had to accept him as well. That was the start of it. You definitely have to go in the mind frame of you accepting both, and she also as well had to accept my son.
So
Okay.
here's my question then. Do you think part of the stigma of dating people with children is not wanting to be like having to deal with the child, or do you think it's so? Like for me personally, I'll speak for my side. Like me, I know one of the reasons that I don't want to date anybody with a child, or at least right now, is I don't want to end up in a situation where I get my heart broken twice.
Exactly.
So the idea being like, if you're, like you said, if you're dating someone with a child, then you're dating them, but you're also building a relationship with a child.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like, all right, let's say it doesn't work out. Okay, now that relationship with the woman is done. But also this child who you've built love for and all this stuff, you gotta step back.
Yes.
And that's
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard. It's
that's
definitely
rough.
Because if you're really involved in that relationship and giving it your all, there's no way that you can't love that child like you're loving the mother of that child. Because of the fact, if you're not, you're doing a disjustice to the whole relationship.
Correct.
Because later on down the line, it's not going to progress between you and that child. Because you showed that child earlier in life that
You don't
it really
care.
wasn't true love. You kind of shunned them aside, so to speak.
So I'll kind of speak, on it from kind of having some experience with it, but also kind of taking notes also, right?
Yes.
So let's speak on it on a perspective of one side of maybe a man not having a child, but also dating someone that does have a child.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
There are certain, I think, protections. I think we as people on a mother or a father put,
Which is
into
normal.
it.
Yep.
Correct.
Mhm.
To say, in your situation to where, your wife right now at that time could have said, I don't know who you are.
Exactly.
I'm not going to let a man just come in and tell me how to raise my son.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think that's what a lot goes on.
Yeah,
definitely
exactly.
does. Definitely does.
So kind of talk about that, because I feel like sometimes that can be the
detrimental.
Detrimental.
Very detrimental. Yes.
and that can cause a rift in love.
Yes.
Right. So kind of talk about that. Did you guys have that?
we did experience that at the beginning.
Okay.
Because
I think that's important. People need to hear that.
when you blended the two households together, because of course it took a while for us to start, migrating different rules and regulations as far as the household. Because at first, she still lived where she lived and I lived where I lived.
Okay.
And the two sons kind of not saying they were confused, but they knew when they were here they could do this. And when they were here, they can do that.
Okay.
So once we got real serious, we had to bring it all together. And it was some disagreements, don't get me wrong.
So was that a conversation you guys had before with each
Yes,
other?
yes.
Okay.
When we saw the conflict and the different
Kind
things.
of talk about that.
When we saw that happening, it's like we wouldn't do it in front of the children, but we'll have our conversation behind closed doors.
Okay.
And I'm like, hey, you notice that when I tell him to do something, he doesn't do it or whatever unless you jump in and say something.
Okay.
We eventually gonna have to fix that.
Okay.
And then she will have different things she would come to me on. She'd be like, hey, I told him to stop doing that and he's still doing it.
Okay.
So we had to come to a midpoint where, hey, you discipline him just like you discipline your son as far as you have that authority.
Okay.
If you do not give that other partner that authority to discipline a child, it's not going to work because that child will never respect you.
Okay.
Never.
Okay. Because they see that the
That
parent,
they can, yes.
the parent doesn't respect.
There you go. There
Okay.
you go.
So
Okay.
I have a follow-up question then. So do you think that a lot of men are so hesitant to date a woman with a child because they don't feel like they will get that respect, or do you think it's because they don't think they have earned that respect?
That possibly could have a lot to do with it, but I noticed when I watch different relationships, some men, they don't want that responsibility because they feel as though that's not their child when they coming into the relationship. So with them coming into the relationship with that mind frame, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's definitely not going to work because they don't want to accept the responsibility of the child. They just want the dating with the mother.
So what do you say, and I'm glad you brought that up, what do you say to situations in dating where a man, I don't think men do it so much, but I do think women lean in with automatically, I have a child.
Yes.
It comes with the package.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Right?
Exactly.
And I feel like sometimes, and you said this in your book, and I like this to where you said that you kind of felt a little bit of pressure to feel like when a woman has a child, you've got to put pressure in your mindset to say, just as much as I'm taking care of her child, I got to take care of her.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So kind of talk about that, right? To where women, and also maybe some men, lead in with, I come with a package.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So kind of speak on that. What are your thoughts
Now,
on that?
definitely with my wife, she was very secure with herself,
Okay.
and she was very independent.
Okay.
She could handle everything herself and things of that nature.
Okay.
But when I came along, she wasn't used to a male figure
Okay.
there to
Okay.
assist her and help her. So it kind of took her a while to trust me, because everything, as far as, I don't know if it went through with like what was in her life previously, but she felt as though that I was going to desert her and break her heart, so to speak, and her son's heart. She didn't want to make a lot of changes at the beginning, as far as like when we decided to mesh the kids together and move together and things of that nature. It took her a while to trust in the relationship that it really was going to go that far, and what she saw wasn't a mirage, that it was really a true thing.
Okay, so we've also spoke on this podcast. It takes a lot of trust. You can also feel like sometimes people feel like if it's hard for a woman or a man to trust their partner,
Definitely.
that have children, because it feels like maybe they're gonna take that child away from them, mentally.
Yes.
Did you kind of go into that? Did you kind of feel that way?
It wasn't to the fact to where it got as bad where she felt I was going to take him away from her.
Okay.
But the firmness that the male aspect puts into the relationship, she kind of felt as though that I was kind of too harsh. because that he wasn't used to that. So she kind of sometimes wanted me to tone it down a bit and take it easy on him.
But you saw what he needed to be.
Exactly, and that's what that male figure does. That missing ingredient, you have to put that missing ingredient in.
So here's my question though. What's it called? Like you are a successful, secure individual. So talk to us a little bit about having that in yourself first before you try and establish that for somebody else.
Definitely. You definitely want to have that in yourself instilled first, because in order to teach one, it's easier when you've went through it and when you're applying it, because you know what it takes to continue to make that work. When you haven't yet done it, and I feel as though sometimes this might be problems with the other relationships, with the males coming in that haven't had children, they really don't want to assist and learn on the fly, because they're not ready to accept that responsibility of the child aspect.
But they're willing to accept the responsibility of the woman.
Exactly. And it's something that can't be forced on somebody, because of the fact, if you don't want to be a parent, you shouldn't be a parent. It's that simple, because being a parent, it takes a lot of sacrifice.
Correct. And I saw that where you stated that when you become a parent, you have to almost become sacrificial to your wants.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I guess the next question would be, as far as like, where like do you, I mean, to be honest, from what you're saying, you got to kind of be, man enough, direct within yourself, and kind of being you.
Yes.
I mean, it always goes like, can you ever be prepared? You know what I mean? To be a parent.
Now, I wasn't prepared.
Okay.
Now that you brought that up.
Yeah.
And Ecko touched on it too. When I had my first son, I was not prepared. I was 18 when I had my first son. I was definitely not prepared.
Okay.
But what I learned on the fly with his mother, I was kind of more mature with the situation and accepted all of the responsibility. And I put it on myself that no matter what, you're going to be successful. If I got to work 2 jobs, if I got to work 3 jobs, everything that needs to be taken care of will be taken care of.
So do you feel like that affected you and the partner at that time?
Not really, because she was on a different level. She just wanted to party and go to the club, get her nails done, pop bottles, things of that nature.
The reason why I asked that, because it's usually the other way around.
Yes, it definitely is. It definitely is.
Yeah.
But the thing that helped me out, though, the way I was raised in my household, I saw my father do it. So that's all I knew.
Okay.
We never had to want or need for nothing, because he made sure he provided.
Okay.
And as well, my mother did also, but it comes down to, I just see it as that male's, it's his job to make sure that his family has everything that that they need. Whether it's monetary, whether it's as far as taking the kids to the park, the little loving and nurturing. Some of that comes from the mother, but they need that from that male aspect too.